Mr. President, does one need to recall that the principle of self-determination of peoples is among the fundamental purposes of the United Nations as enshrined in Chapter 1, Article 1 of the Charter? And does one need to recall that the principle of self-determination of peoples was confirmed by this Assembly in its Resolution 637 of 1952 on the right of people and nations to self-determination, in its Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples, adopted in 1960 as Resolution 1514, in its Permanent Sovereignty over Natural Resources, Resolution 1803 of 1962, and in its Declaration of Principles of International Law concerning friendly relations and cooperation among states, which was unanimously adopted in 1970 as Resolution 2625 and has been considered as an expression of customary international law. Moreover, does one need to recall that Article 1, which is common to both the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, reaffirmed the right of all peoples to self-determination. Mr. President, self-determination has almost become synonymous with the long struggle of the Palestinian people for the exercise of its internationally recognized inalienable rights, including the right to national independence and sovereignty, and the right to return to their homes and property from which they had been uprooted. The mere fact, however, that this Assembly is still meeting on a yearly basis since 1978 to celebrate the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is in itself an indication of the enormity of the obstacles preventing the Palestinian people from exercising its right of to self-determination. Mr. President, the aforementioned resolutions of this Assembly put upon states not just the obligation to respect the principle of self-determination, but also the duty to refrain from actions which deprive peoples of such a right. But in this case, not only has Israel failed to withdraw from the Palestinian territories which it occupied in 1967, as per its legal obligations under Security Council resolutions 242 and 338, it has also been creating in the occupied territories a series of underground facts in the form of security zones, settlements, bypass roads and checkpoints, not to mention the annexation of East Jerusalem and the erection of the wall, which all furthermore prevent the Palestinian people from exercising its right to self-determination. The magnitude of these on-the-ground facts is well illustrated by the size and growth of settlement activities in the occupied territories. Quote-unquote official settlements have recently exceeded 120, in addition to some 100 so-called unofficial outposts. According to the Israeli Information Center for Human Rights, B'Tselem, the number of settlers in the West Bank by the end of 2008 stood at 479,000, including 193 in East Jerusalem. Noteworthy here is also the fact that by 2008, the settler population, excluding East Jerusalem, had grown at a much faster rate than the general population of Israel, 4.7% compared to 1.6% respectively. The same was true in 2007. And while the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, in its advisory opinion of July 2004, found that the vast sections of the wall that are on occupied Palestinian territory, quote, severely impede the exercise by the Palestinian people of its right to self-determination and is therefore a breach of Israel's obligation to respect that right, end of quote, and ruled that Israel is legally obliged to, quote, return the land, orchards, olive groves, and other immovable property cedes, end of quote. 5 years on, construction of the wall continues, with approximately 200 kilometers built since the advisory opinion was rendered. Approximately 85% of the 709-kilometer long wall is complete. A further 10% is under construction and 31.5% is planned. The total area between the wall and the Green Line amounts to 9.5% of the West Bank. When completed, the majority of the route, approximately 85%, will run inside the West Bank and East Jerusalem rather than along the 1949 armistice line. Also, when completed, this wall will be 4 times as long as the no less infamous Berlin Wall, which was 155 kilometers long. Reaching in places a height of 8 meters, it will also be twice as high as the Berlin Wall, whose average height was 3.6 meters. Mr. President,